Just a programming note, we will not be having the legislative committee next week on the 11th, as most of the regents will be in Iowa City. I thought what we could do today is talk about some of the major bills that we've been following and their status after the second funnel. Talk about appropriations, whether or not we've heard anything along those lines, and confirmations. But let's start with the bills. Keith, do you want to take House File 295, the accreditation bill?
Morning, everyone. This is the accreditation bill that says an accreditor cannot take an adverse action against an institution for following state law. This passed out of the Senate Education Committee, is now awaiting debate on the Senate floor.
Great, thank you. We'll move on to House File 401 with Jillian, the core curriculum bill.
Yeah, House File 401 is the core curriculum bill, and it sets general education standards for our institutions. It requires 6 credit hours of English composition, 3 credit hours of math or statistics, 4 of natural sciences, 6 of social sciences, 6 of humanities, 3 of Western heritage, 3 of American heritage, and it does provide exemptions for this highly specialized degree programs, or if the degree program is 3 years, then it doesn't apply. And this one passed out of Senate Education yesterday.
Keith, do you want to take House File 437, the Center for Intellectual Freedom?
Yeah, this is, again, awaiting debate on the Senate floor. There is a companion bill, so it didn't need to pass through committee this week, but it's eligible for debate on the Senate floor.
So they attach the House file to the Senate file on the calendar.
Correct.
Do you have any idea when those bills that we're talking about today will be debated on the Senate floor?
No, that's up to the majority leader in the Senate.
But they are all eligible for debate at any time.
Correct.
Carol Ann, do you want to talk about House File 440, the tuition bill?
Yes, good morning. House File 440 is also on the calendar, came out of committee yesterday, and it requires the Board of Regents to establish tuition by April 30th, the previous fiscal year, requires the board to begin efforts to offer at least one baccalaureate degree that can be completed in 3 years, begin implementing at least one work-study program where a student engages in employment with an employer, and then the employer would be financially responsible for a student's tuition. And the board is also required to conduct a study establishing a policy on tuition guarantee.
And Keith, do you want to take House File 516, the percentage enrollment for medicine and dentistry?
Again, this is House File 516. This came out of the Human Resources Committee in the Senate. This is sort of an omnibus admissions bill related to the medical and dental schools at the University of Iowa. It mandates the board adopts a policy that says 80% of the entering class for both the dental and medical school be Iowan. It creates it codifies a priority for Iowans for residency programs, and also states that the university shall interview any Iowan who is interested in applying for a residency at the university. And again, this passed Human Resources and is now on the Senate calendar.
Keith, how does the bill now define Iowan?
I don't have the bill in front of me, but it includes language stating someone who has been in the state for 4 years attending undergraduate. So this would be someone who attended one of our private schools, a traditional Iowan, someone who is a resident of the state. And I believe it's Iowans who left the state for undergrad and then came back for graduate school.
Okay.
I can send you the exact language if you need it.
Okay, thanks. Has that been changed at all?
The Senate added some additional language around that. They also added a attestation form that would anyone applying for medical school would have to check the box whether or not they are a resident, whether or not they have family in the state, whether or not there's a couple of different categories there. Trying to judge whether or not an applicant has an intent to stay in the state following their education or training.
And using the current definition in the bill, do you think we're already close to 80%?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions on the bills? Keith, have they started working on their appropriations process? Yes, I saw some of the governor's budget bills being introduced.
So the budget process should be kicking off here very soon. Couple of gates that needed to be crossed have been crossed. One is the March revenue estimate came in, so that happened middle of March. They also need to come in agreement on state supplemental aid for K-12. There has been disagreement between the House and Senate on that. So once they come to agreement there, that should allow the budget to start moving relatively quickly. Again, we've seen the governor's budget bills introduced. So we'll be waiting to see targets announced, which is the amount of money each budget subcommittee has to spend. Following that, we'll be looking for language coming from both the House and the Senate budget subcommittees.
And confirmations, I believe Senator Evans said the Senate Education Committee will start on those next week.
Yes, we have 5 regents up for confirmation this year. We anticipate those subcommittee assignments being made. So each of our regents who are up for confirmation should be getting contacted by the senator who is chairing their confirmation. I'm assuming they will be brought in to meet the Senate Education Committee, but we'll be staying in contact with both Senator Evans and also the senators chairing each individual regent's confirmation process as that moves along.
Great. Any questions about appropriations or confirmations? That's our agenda for today. Be happy to talk about anything else you might like. It's a good day.
Mark, were there any surprises out of the final bills that didn't make it?
No, not really. There was one higher education bill that did not make it. But other than that, all the other ones that we expected to pass, passed.
Okay. And since we won't have a meeting next Friday, then it'd be 2 weeks from today. And will there be updates that we can get out to everybody just so they have a feeling on appropriations and anything else that's going on?
As soon as we see the appropriations bills, we will share that with the entire board.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Appreciate the update.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.